Good morning everyone, I am Maria Patsimil Plazo and today I will share to you my opinion and stand about GMO in foods and medicine. Genetically modified organisms or GMOs have had their DNA artificially modified by humans using modern genetic manipulation techniques by changing the DNA. So changing the genomes of an organism means we can change its characteristics. Humans have been artificially altering the genomes of plants and animals for thousands of years by selective breeding. Today, with advances in genetic engineering techniques, means we can speed this process up by incorporating specific new genes from one species into a completely unrelated species. Crops, farm animals, and soil bacteria are three of the most common uses of genetic engineering to make GMOs. GM stands for genetically modified. So, GM crops are plants grown for food whose genes have been altered using genetic engineering. In some cases, the genes of other organisms have been inserted into some genome of the crop plant to improve it in some way. As the human population increases, there is a higher demand for food and it's often difficult to grow enough food to provide everyone with a balanced diet. Growing GM crops is a partial solution to this problem because GM crops tend to have higher yields than conventional crops. They can also offer extra nutritional value. Let's take a look at a few examples of genetically modified crops so we can see how this is possible. Crops that are most commonly modified are cotton, soybean, maize, and canola. Crop yields are often negatively affected because pests like insects damage the crops. Traditionally, farmers have sprayed their crops with pesticides to kill the insect pest, but this is time-consuming, expensive, and often harmful to the farm workers in contact with the poison. The promise of GMOs is alluring for many. We were all told that genetically modifying crops would make them immune to weed killers and pests, leading to an abundance of foods that would solve our world hunger problems. We were also told that these crops would require fewer pesticides and herbicides. But is this true? Did genetically modified crops live up to their promise? Personally, I don't think there's enough information out there about what GMOs are doing to our bodies and health. The research and studies that are available are not making a positive case for these foods. Why take any chances with your health? My biggest piece of advice for avoiding GMOs and really all processed and packaged foods is to eat real, whole, organic foods. If it says organic on the label, it's automatically GMO free. In medicine, genetic engineering is used to make biopharmaceutical drugs. Various organisms are engineered for use as factories to produce the drug product. Bacteria are the preferred option as they are the easiest to grow and scale up for production. But depending on the complexity of the drug's molecular structure, other organisms such as yeast, mammalian cells, etc. can also be used to express the drug product. The first GA drug approved for use was insulin. By the year 2000, there were over 100 GE drugs on the market. Currently, people's lives are changed every day by drugs like Remicade, Epo, Avastin, and Neulasta. Most opponents of GMOs are first to point to potential health concerns. GMOs, specifically as they relate to food, are relatively new and research is minimal. The long-term effects on the human body may lead to higher rates of disease, nervous, neurological, or muscle deterioration, or genetic mutations. While genetic engineering is used in both agriculture and medicine, it is far more controversial in agriculture. Here is an explanation that helped shape my point of view. Intellectually, I can grasp that adding or silencing a few well-characterized genes out of thousands is a drop in the genome bucket. But for me, it makes it a little bit more real to think of it in terms of people. Just look at the variety among us. Variations between our thousands of genes are why we are all different from each other. But even with those differences, we are all human. It is similar with plants. Changing one, or as you get better, a few genes in the plant genome is barely a blip compared to the normal diversity between individuals. Beyond the health and trade concerns, GMO detractors make the case that GMOs can be devastating to the environment and are jeopardizing the stability of ecosystems across the world, in addition to posing hazards to certain insects that pose no threat to crops. GMOs contain and leave chemicals in the soil that often find their way into wildlife food chains and naturally occurring water systems. All of this can pose a long-term issue for the health of humans, wildlife, and biological ecosystems. It is my hope that this review of the parallels between GMOs in medicine and food has added some perspective to the ongoing discussion surrounding the uses of genetic engineering. That's all for my video. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.